Let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. I want to talk about just what's been going on in the world, and there's a lot of conflict right now, and just people are tripping. People are tripping. And you know what? This has been going on for the past 10 years. The world has been in a 10-year upheaval, you know? And I'm beginning to realize that I think his name was Sergey Monast, what he said about Project Bluebeam, we're living in it right now. We just don't know it because the initial presentation of what Project Bluebeam was going to be was a distraction. And I'm beginning to notice that they always keep people looking up to the sky to keep you distracted from what's going on right in front of you. See, everybody's looking up to the sky for Jesus to return. Everybody's looking up to the sky for aliens to come back or come to the planet, right? They always keep your eyes up to the sky. And if they do keep your eyes down here on earth, you're looking at your phone. We all do it. We're under the distraction effect. So Sergey Monast, he was a Canadian guy that had this conspiracy theory that there was going to be this, and I've talked about this before, there was going to be this major um worldwide apocalyptic event that was going to ultimately basically usher in a more totalitarian society for every citizen on this planet. And I think it was demonstrated, or there was an example of this in a book, I think by H.P. Wells called 1984. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm mistaken, forgive me. You all know what I'm talking about. It may not have been by H.P. Wells, but you all know what I'm talking about, those people who understand what I'm saying. Now, Sergey Monast, he died under, I'm going to say, he died under mysterious circumstances at the age of 51 or 52. In his early 50s, he had a heart attack, which is very interesting because and it was in 1996. And what people don't understand, at that time in history, in the 90s, there were a lot of rituals going on, a lot of mass rituals that were not as they weren't as known about as they are now, because we didn't have YouTube and all of that type of stuff to expose, like a lot of stuff is being exposed. And that's why a lot of people are getting mad, because even though they're trying to implement certain things, it's getting exposed because the calls are coming from inside the house. They have a leak with inside their organizations and elites and all that, because contrary to what people believe, a lot of people are getting fed up. Even the people within those elitist groups, they're even getting fed up with the debauchery. They're even getting fed up with the wickedness that's going on this planet or in this realm. You know what I'm saying? So what do? They promote and they put out into the universe confusion, fear, wars, division. Because the more and more I look at President Trump, the more and more I realize that he is just a peon in a much bigger plot. He's just one peon. With like that alleged war over there going on in Iran right now. And I say alleged because somebody, I'm going to say it this way. I heard somebody say that they were over in Iran. They're in the military. And I heard this person say they were over in Iran and there's a war going on between the United States basically and Iran, right? And this was maybe a year or two ago. So I heard this person say this in real time. So my question is, how long? I'm a spiritualist and I'm an occultist. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but my question is, how long has that war been going on? And are they showing us old footage and old information? Because personally, I think that Ayatollah Khamenei, or whatever his name is, I think he's been dead. Because there's something about this war that does not feel right. Because normally, the president has to get congressional approval and all of that, I believe. I don't know everything about politics, but I believe he does. There was no congressional approval. And I'm not in the morality of what's right and what's wrong as far as politics. That's not the point of the video. So don't be distracted by that point. I'm not going down the political rabbit hole. I'm going down the spiritual rabbit hole because I'm trying to make sense of stuff. Why doesn't this war feel like it's really happening? It feels like this is an illusion. Or it feels like this is just an extension of what was already going on over in Iran anyway. But the media, including social media, you have to include social media with this. The media is very deceptive. They will show us footage from shit that may have happened a decade ago. Because to be honest with you, the footage looks like it's a few years old. And some of the footage looks like AI to me. I'm just being honest. I could be wrong. But it doesn't feel like there's a war going on. It feels more like we're up under Project Bluebeam. See, people kept thinking that Project Bluebeam was going to be about the skies opening up and some fake messiah coming out of the skies and pretending like he was God and he was, the Alpha and the Omega. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Human beings are some of the most corrupt people in the universe. Then they're always talking about aliens, reptilians, and all of these different weird, stories to promote fear and to cause panic and chaos in people. So let's really have a conversation. Let's really have a conversation about what's going on. Only from my perspective. Let me get a sip of water. I love my cold ice water. And it tastes so good when you just sip it. Some cold ice water with some ice in it. Better than a soda, honey. Here is where I'm at with it. All of that shit is bullshit. There are no reptilians the way that they're describing it. They're not telling the whole story. The Vatican knows. The Vatican has all of the documents and information about aliens. They're talking a lot about aliens. They tried to show y'all. Y'all need to go back 10, 11 years ago. Look at that show with Halle Berry called Extant. Go back and look at that show with Halle Berry called Extant. Go back and look at it. Because they were trying to show you then. They hurried up and got that show off. That was a good show too. But they hurried up and took that off the air because it was revealing too much about what was really going on in this world. There are no reptilians coming from the sky. There are no aliens coming to invade Earth. You know why? They're already here. They're already here and they've been here. Reptilian, and everybody's so focused on reptilian. You all are thinking, and when I say you all, I'm talking about the world, not the people that watch me, but even some of the ones that watch me that may not know this. You may be thinking that a reptilian is a totally different species. Like it's going to look like an amphibious type of creature. And you get caught up in these YouTube videos and these people who talk about, they seen these beings and they seen this and they seen that and all that. All of that is hype and illusion. And some of those people are having psychedelic experiences, which can be questionable, to say the least. But your experiences are your experiences. But let's bring it back down to earth because, see, we're so busy looking up in the air, but we ignore the earth and the sea. There was a show called Twilight Zone, the original one from the 1960s. And I really liked that one because the Twilight Zone was really showing you what was going to happen in the future. There was an episode called The Monsters on Maple Street. I believe that was the name of it. And the people thought that they were getting ready on this street called Maple Street. Everybody thought that there was getting ready to be an alien invasion. It was a blackout or something. And everybody thought there was going to be an alien invasion because back in the 60s and I think the 60s and the mid 50s, that was a lot of the hype about alien invasions. So all of these people started gathering in, I guess their bunkers or bomb shelters. And it was so much chaos and fear. And the thing is that there were aliens observing them, and they put that in there just for the sake of entertainment. But the symbology of it was is that human beings are the cause of most of their suffering. The aliens weren't bothering them. They were only observing them. And they were like, these people are crazy. Let's get the fuck up out of here. We don't want no parts of this. Right? But this was all part of Hollywood's, agenda to instill fear in people. Then they came out in 1979 with the movie Alien, which further instilled fear in people. But what they would not tell you is that the aliens are already here. See, that's what they really want to tell y'all in those disclosures they keep talking about. Let me come on out and tell y'all what they won't tell you. Let me tell you, they already here. They already here. That's what they won't tell you. Like I said, the Vatican knows. And you know who, and you all keep, and see, that's the thing. It's not just the royal family or the elites that have, that are connected to these, I'm going to say for right now, these so-called reptilians, because every time you hear anything about reptilian, they're talking about Queen Elizabeth and the royal family, and who is, darling? The royal family is connected to reptilians, and Princess Margaret and Queen Elizabeth and her mother, the Queen Mother, darling. That's all they talk about. They're connected with reptilians. That's all you hear throughout the internet. But what they don't tell you is that reptilians don't look like reptilians. That's the scary part they don't tell y'all. See, we're going to have a conversation today because they're going to stop playing up in our face. See, that's what they don't tell you. They want you to believe that reptilians look like these ugly, hideous beings. That's what they want you to believe. I'm not saying that beings like that don't exist, but that's not what's going on here on Earth. You want to know why you have not seen an alien or a so-called alien? You want to know why? Because they look human. See, that's what Obama wanted to tell y'all, but then he had to retract it last week. Yeah. Allegedly, that's why they killed JFK as well. It wasn't about no motherfucking gang shit with Jack Ruby and all them. That didn't have nothing to do with it. That was the distraction. JFK was getting ready to disclose ancient information, and the Catholic Church did not want him to do it. The Catholic Church, the US government, it was all a conglomerate effort to take JFK out because he came across some shit about alien disclosure where he discovered they were already here and they look like humans and they've always been here because the aliens are us. The aliens are us. That's what they don't want to tell you. It ain't necessarily no Queen Elizabeth and all them motherfuckers. It's us. We're the aliens. Now, not all of us are reptilians. Some of us come from different star systems because life didn't originate on this planet. The reptilians that they're talking about is not based upon physicality, it's based upon DNA and genetics. They look like us, but they're not us. Just like we look like some of them, but we're not them. We are each other's horror stories. Sorry for yelling, but I get passionate when I talk about something that I feel strongly about. We're the aliens. We all have alien DNA, or what they call stardust. We have cosmic origins, especially black people. And for all we know, the reptilian DNA that they're talking about could have been from human cloning and adding animal DNA to certain human beings to create another human species. That's probably the reptilian that they're talking about. It ain't come from no divine no place outer space. It came from right here. Black people have cosmic origins. That's why we're hated so much. No disrespect to nobody else, but it's just the truth. When you research, and I'm going to say allegedly it's the truth. Reptilians don't look like amphibious beings. They look human. Their genetics is reptilian. Their mindset is reptilian. And I've talked about this years ago. But since we keep talking about aliens and since we keep wanting to use this distraction, let's go. They don't want to tell people that the people that are really aliens are the people that are living on the planet. The Vatican knows this. The Vatican knows a lot of shit that they keep under lock and key. Just like the Vatican knows that the black woman is a significant, powerful figure within the universe. That's why they worship the big black Madonna. They worship the black Madonna in secret in their rituals. That's why I don't understand Shia Labeouf. I believe that's the motherfucker's name. I didn't really want to talk about this, but he irritates me because, not because he doesn't like gay people, obviously. That doesn't irritate me. I don't care anything about no weird looking white guy that don't like gay people. I don't like you either. I'm not saying I don't like white men. I'm saying I don't like him. What irritates me is the fact that he claims to be a Christian, right? So if you're a Christian, what the fuck are you doing at Mardi Gras? Now, I know it's ambiguous according to the Catholic Church, because did you all know that Mardi Gras is connected to the Catholic Church? There's some kind of way Mardi Gras is intertwined with Lent, the Lent ritual or holiday. Some kind of way it's connected to that. And I said, really? Or is this some new age stuff? Because all of the Christians that I know, they look at Mardi Gras. This is not my opinion, okay? This is what I'm making a point to discredit Shia Labeouf. All of the Christians that I know, they look at Mardi Gras as being demonic. I don't have that. I don't share that view. But my question is, because Shia Labeouf he was arrested. He got into an altercation with some gay people, some gay men at Mardi Gras. He said that they touched him or touched his leg, and he said he's afraid of big gay men or something like that. I don't care anything about all that. My question is, what the fuck were you doing at Mardi Gras anyway? When in actuality, I thought that Mardi Gras was more so connected to, or rooted in paganism, which is my arena. But they have really misrepresented Mardi Gras so much, and they have turned it into a form of perversion. So I understand him not wanting to be touched by other men if he's not gay. That's fine. I don't care anything about that. But for him to carry on with this type of hypocrisy, my question remains: what are you doing at Mardi Gras anyway? That's not for you. That's not for you anyway. And why are Christians always trying to be in spaces where they shouldn't be any motherfucking way? Now, I know it's ambiguous in how you look at Mardi Gras, because according to what I researched, some religions believe that Mardi Gras is okay. Others say that it's not. But the Christians that I know, they looked at Mardi Gras as being demonic. That's how they looked at Mardi Gras. He claims to be such a Christian, him and that weirdo Mark Wahlberg. They claim to be such Christians. But why were you, not Mark Wahlberg, but why were you at Mardi Gras? Getting drunk. There's nothing about him that says Christian in his aura. I guess the only time they become Christians is when they want to become anti-gay or speak out against gay people. No. Let me correct you, Shia Labeouf. The men that were attacking you, not attacking, but the men that were touching you inappropriately, they were not gay people. Those were homosexuals, part of the LGBT ritualistic cult. So do not put Don't put me and every other gay person in that soup or in that pool or in that bowl of potato salad. Because number one, you're not attractive. You're extremely skinny. You look sickly. You look weird. And that's probably why you're divorcing your wife. And then he kept putting emphasis on big gay men. They intimidate him. That's not even a gay thing. That's just a short little man syndrome thing because he's a smaller frame man. He's short, and all they do is talk about people and try to belittle other people that they feel inferior to, just like racist white men do. No disrespect, but I'm just calling it out. Just like insecure, inferior men do who are short and small, who feel inferior to taller men. Do you know how many times I've had to go at it with smaller dudes because they think that they can step to me and try to start some shit with me? And then once they realize this ain't what you want, I don't even have to raise my voice. All I have to do is give them motherfuckers a look. And they back the fuck off because the darkness that is inside of me, you don't want me to tap into that. Because it just won't be physical that you have to deal with. Not saying that it's whatever, but I'm just saying. And I done went all the way to the left. But the reason I brought up Shia Labeouf, however you say his name, is because he's Catholic. He's Catholic slash Christian, I think. Yeah, he's Catholic. And I really, I don't really study Mardi Gras because that's not my culture. I didn't know that Mardi Gras, and I'm saying this respectfully, that it was connected to the Catholic Church. I didn't know that. But I still wonder what was he doing at Mardi Gras in New Orleans, in the French Quarter, where there's a lot of homosexuality that goes on there. You know it. That's just like, why would I go into a space? I'm not saying people should not be able to go into certain spaces that they want to go in. And let me make this disclaimer. I am not agreeing with those men touching him. I am not. Keep your fucking hands to your motherfucking self. But I have a suspicion that even if those men did not touch him, he would have still had something to say. Because that's what troubled white men like him do. He's a troubled person. He's an angry white man. Remember, I talk about everybody over here, y'all. Whoever irritates me, it ain't personal, it's spiritual. This ain't personal. So, white people that watch me, this ain't about attacking you as a whole. I'm talking about him. If you can't grasp that, then fuck off. This is about him and his actions and what he represents and what he represented. You're at Mardi Gras, an event or every what is it an event, I'm going to call it an event that happens every year where there's a lot of gay men, especially in the French Quarter, from what I understand, in New Orleans. And like I said, I don't condone those men touching him. You should be able to go in whatever space you want without being touched, or yeah, keep your fucking hands to yourself. But my question is, why would, like, for example, why would I go into spaces with straight black men when I know I don't really get along with them like that? You know what I'm saying? Why would I go into those spaces? I had a gay friend, my childhood friend, as a matter of fact, he's dead now. He would go to straight clubs to try to pick up men and would try to get me to go with him. I'd be like, oh, no, 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 no. No, motherfucking sir, we no, 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 we not. You go by yourself. I'm not doing no shit like that. Why would I go into straight spaces trying to pick up on men who are looking for females? Why would I do that? So something is suspicious about all this shit with Shia Labeouf. I'm thinking that it's some type of ritual. But like I said, keep your hands to yourself. And for the life of me, I don't understand why anybody in the gay community would even want to touch him. Touch him for what? Why would y'all even want something like that? You don't Are you that desperate? He don't even look like shit. And even if he did, I wouldn't put my hands on him no way. I don't touch nobody unless they give me permission to. I don't touch anybody unless they give me permission to touch them. And I understand him feeling uncomfortable with men touching him when he's straight. And I don't agree with that. But what I also don't agree with is him trying to make this about all gay people. No, you need to talk about those particular gay people, those homosexuals. Because in actuality, it sounds like it was a setup anyway. It sounds like it was a setup because people in that particular section of the gay community, they do set people up to be exposed, to be humiliated. This is a whole humiliation ritual, and Shia LaBeouf gave them the key to do it. Now he wants to bring religion into it. That's my problem. That's my problem. I don't care if he don't like gay people. He's straight. He don't want no men touching him. That's fine. But my problem that I'm sorry that it took me so long to get to this point is he's bringing religion into it. And that is why I am saying, if you're so fucking religious, what were you doing at Mardi Gras in the first place? I think anybody knows anything that hasn't been under a rock, you know what they do at Mardi Gras. You know how they get down at Mardi Gras. Hell, I'm gay and I don't even want to go to Mardi Gras because I don't want nobody touching up on me either. I don't even like hugging people. I don't even like hugging people. I'm not a hugger. That's just not me. I don't like that. I get tired of people always wanting to hug me. I have to tell them sometimes, and I hurt their feelings, and I don't mean to, but I'm not a hugger. And that goes for anybody, gay, straight, man, woman, it don't matter. I am not a hugger. Now, if I like you and you're a friend of mine, that's a little bit different. I have, whatever the case may be. If you're a loved one, yeah, I don't mind that, but I don't like people touching me. Don't put your hands on me. So I understand him from that standpoint. But when he starts bringing in the Bible and the Bible says it's wrong and all that shit, and I'm like, motherfucker, then what the fuck are you doing there in the first place? You talking about the Bible and all that motherfucking shit, but it looks like ever since you got more into it, your life has been going down the toilet. You're a drunk, you're unstable, you're erratic. So what's the motherfucking tea? Or is it because you're a reptilian? See, these reptilians, they try to reptilians, they're not like us. They are more cold and calculated. And having reptilian DNA has nothing to do with skin color. I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff out there. I don't want to sound convoluted, but this is just how it's going to have to be. You either follow it or you don't. Reptilian has nothing to do with skin color. It's based upon genetics and DNA. So it could be very well. I'm gonna retract this. I'm gonna retract something that I said earlier. It could very well be that the royal family and all of them are reptilians. But on YouTube, you get fear mongering, misinformation, where people are going to tell you, oh, they're lizard people. They transform into, you know, they use all these AI, generated videos to show people transforming into lizards and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's all bullshit. Roseanne and Monique, they all on that bandwagon too, trying to make people think that, reptilians look like amphibious people. No, they don't. That's more scarier than anything, that they look like us and we look like them, and you can't tell the aliens apart because they're here and they look human. But for some reason, they want to convince us that aliens look like these strange looking creatures. That's what they want to convince us. And that's a distraction and a confusion tactic, so we won't pay attention to the people that are right in front of us. You'll know when you run across a reptilian. You'll know. They're violent, they are cold, soulless, and they're calculated. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them that have reptilian DNA. That's why they try to hide it, because the ones that are not like that, they know that people are not going to trust them because of the reputation of most of their species. And we've all had experiences with reptilians. We have unfortunately, I think I live with one right now. I think this motherfucker that's supposed to be my partner, I think he's a reptilian sometimes. And I say motherfucker as a term of endearment, okay? Sometimes I think he's a reptilian. They're cold, they're calculated, you can't talk to them, they don't have a warm personality. And then some of them are more robotic, where they're not necessarily cruel, but they don't understand human emotion. They don't understand it. They don't understand the importance of not hurting people's feelings and being a evil, nasty person. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they don't mean to be evil and nasty, but it's just their genetic makeup. They can't help it. Because reptilians are not emotional. They really don't have feelings and emotions like normal human beings. Even though I believe we're aliens too, but we're more human type. Reptilians are they're more robotic, emotionless. They have no emotion. They lack empathy. Think of all of the people in your life. Think of all of the people in your life, even your family members. You may be a reptilian, but you may be a more advanced, highly awakened one who separates from the hive, and you don't practice some of their brute practices in mistreating and harming people. Like I said, the Vatican knows. They know what's up. That's just like I started thinking. I said, damn, all of the people that I went to school, and wait a minute, let me back up. Wait a minute, let me back up for 1 minute. For 1 minute, wait a minute. It started making me think. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. It started making me just go back to when I was in school. And this is why I'm going to say it. The public school system can be absolutely horrid. Absolutely horrid. It makes me go back and think about when I was in school and all of those weird children that I was around. They were awful people. They didn't seem like normal kids, most of them. They were crazy, they were violent. Most of them had, and these were black, of course, because black people can be reptilians too. Contrary to what they want you to believe, they want you to believe that everything bad is white. No, it's not. Um, they were just some awful, awful people when I think about it. And I said, damn, are these reptilians? Now that I think about it now, was I going to school with a bunch of reptilians? And that's what the public school system does. They lump all black people into one group when we are all actually different species that come from different parts of the universe or the galaxy, whichever one you want to call it. They know this, the elites, they know this based upon our genetics and DNA. We just don't know it. That's why I am a strong proponent for mothers who want to homeschool their children. Because when you send children into those public schools, you don't know whom they're going to be around. A lot of times you're worried about the teachers and the faculty, but you're not worried about the students they have to be around. You're not worried about that. They lump you all in one group and say, oh, they all just a bunch of niggas and black people. We can just put them all over there in one group. We just put them all over there. Not knowing that we're not going to all get along. That's why this insane notion that all black people are brothers and sisters, no the fuck we not. Don't call me your brother. I'm not your brother. I'm not your brother. We all come from different places and we all have different genetics and DNA. And we are all not going to get along, and that's okay. They try to force this, I'm going to call it this CIA mandate that all black people are the same. You can see we're all not the same. Look at the black people from Africa and you compare them to the black Americans over here because we all know that them Africans are reptilians. Look at how they act. Not saying that we don't have some reptilian DNA, but that's not our dominant DNA. And I don't give a fuck who that offends. It's time that the smoke and mirrors be lifted. The mirror needs to be broken and the smoke needs to be cleared. They put us all in the same category and they try to lump us all together with each other, and that's not right. And that's for people across the board. It doesn't matter what your racial makeup is. That's for people across the board. So I started thinking about all of the things I went through in my life and the people that I ran across, especially other so called black people. They may have been black, but they were not fully human people, in my opinion, or at least they weren't my type of human. There are different levels of human. And if they have reptilian DNA, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to treat you right. They're going to talk to you as if you're a subspecies, even if they're other black people or appearing to be other black people. They are, but their genetics and their DNA are different. That's why this is what I really wanted to say. That is why I don't like Masons. Masons are reptilians. They have reptilian DNA. Now, I'm not going to say that all of them are bad. But the ones I have ran across, particularly the black men or the black ones, they have been awful. They're nasty, they're cold, they're calculated, even if they're living below substandards financially. They think that they're better than you. You want to tell me that Bill Cosby ain't no reptilian? Y'all call them archons. I'm calling them reptilians. They have reptilian DNA. That's what I'm saying. They are human, but they're not human. And it's not because they're shape shifting and all of that weird shit that y'all talking about. Shapeshifters and reptilian is not the same thing. That's YouTube conspiracy theories. Shapeshifters and skinwalkers and all of that other stuff, that those are in their own phylum, meaning their own category. If you really want to understand, and they showed you this, if you really want to understand what I'm talking about, go back and look at the show the V's. There was one version that came out in 1983, and they did an extension of that version, I believe, in 2009 to 2011. The V's. They were human. They took that show off the air too. They were human looking, but they had reptilian DNA. But they looked human. But they could morph in and out of different, they could look differently at times, they could shapeshift. But their main form was human. And that's what makes it so hard to identify them, because they look human. But in the show, when they show them shapeshifting into so-called reptilians, that is symbolic of their DNA and their genetics. That is what they're giving reference to. They have access to stuff that we don't. Because their minds are more about brute force and discipline. And there's nothing wrong with discipline. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is they have too many within their circle who operate on brute force, bullying, and harming people. And then they get in high level positions of power on the world stage, and they begin to manipulate everyone with fear, misinformation, so you won't know, hey, listen, this motherfucker is really just a human being with reptilian DNA. We can kill them like they trying to kill us. They want you to think that there's some type of superior species when they're not. They're human, they're human looking, just with reptilian genetics, reptilian DNA. That's why they act the way that they do. So, if you're dealing with people in your life that are cold, calculated, evil, wicked, and brutal, I don't care if they're black, because let's stop thinking that all black people are innocent. They're not. I don't care if they're Indian. I don't care if they're... Everyone has the potential to have reptilian DNA. You can even not mate, but you can even procreate with them. Our genetics are the same in a lot of ways, which is why we can procreate with them. Now, am I saying that all of them are bad? No, I'm not saying that. But a lot of them are. But those Masons, they definitely have reptilian DNA. That is why they guard so much of their information, because they don't want that to come out. They want you all in the public, the dumbed down public, they want us to continue to believe that reptilians are coming here from they're coming here from outer space, and they're coming, out of the sky and going to land. They're going to land in where's that in Manhattan? Madison Square Garden. They think they're going to land on Madison Square Garden. That's why they have all these movies and, Alien and, what's that other one? Independence Day. They want you to believe all that. They want you to believe all that because they want to distract you from what's right in front of your face. They're here. They've always been here with us. And even we may have some reptilian DNA. It's just that they decide, it's not even about them having reptilian DNA. They made conscious decisions to be wicked, to be evil, to harm people, to bully people, and the worst possible thing is to try to impede on other people's spiritual journey. That's the worst thing they did. And that's exactly what they're doing by putting out misinformation. And they put out these imps. They put out these little imps. And the Masonic temples, they're involved in all this shit too, at the highest level. They're involved in it. And I can speak on it because my family, I don't talk about it much, but my ancestors were rooted in Masonic shit. My great great grandfather and my great great grandmother, they were high level Masonic people. My great grandmother, I'm sorry, my great great grandmother, she was an Eastern Star and she was connected to high level Masons of that time. So no wonder this is inside of me and I'm talking about it. This ain't just me talking. This is my ancestors coming through telling you what the fuck is going on. They're speaking through me. They're playing a game with humanity. That's why you all are so depressed, living in fear, worrying about the sky opening up. I remember back in 2008, and I talk about this all the time, how they said that George Bush and Trump is trying to be like George W. Bush, the son. That's why they're over there in Iran, allegedly. He's trying to do what George W. Bush did in Iraq. I don't know if it's going to work, though, child. I remember during the end of George W. Bush's presidency, all you saw on YouTube was that there was going to be an alien invasion, and he was going to declare himself emperor and cancel the 2008 elections. Now all of those videos are gone. You can barely find any video of that anywhere on YouTube or any trace of it. Why? Because it was all orchestrated. They want you to believe that something is getting ready to happen. It's like dangling a carrot in front of somebody. They told you that 3-eye atlas was getting ready to come to Earth and all this other stuff. Oh, they're coming. The aliens are coming, you guys. Oh, it's coming, it's coming. And nothing ever happens. That's psychological and spiritual warfare. So, like I said, when I go back and I really think about all of the people that I had to endure most of my life, I said, damn, are these motherfuckers reptilians? I'm going to tell you how you can tell if it's a reptilian. Cold demeanor. I'm not just talking about somebody that doesn't like you or you having a disagreement with someone. I'm talking about a genetic and a DNA portal of coldness. They have no emotion. They talk to you as if you're beneath them. They have a brute force mindset. They target people who have a natural spiritual connection to the spiritual realm. They normally target those types of people, such as myself. They normally do, but I'm used to it. I heard somebody say, how do you protect yourselves against reptilians? Ain't shit to protect. They human. They're human. They just have reptilian genetics. But other than that, they're human in every other way. Half of them don't even know that they're reptilians. That is why we always find ourselves at odds with certain types of people with certain types of personality traits, even within our own families, even within our own community structures. A lot of these people that we have put up on pedestals and stuff like that, them motherfuckers were reptilians. They had reptilian DNA. Now, I'm going to tell you all something. I'm going to tell you something. My friend Christopher Barry, he was a reptilian, but he was a different type of reptilian. He was one of the good ones that was trying to enlighten himself and change the hearts and minds of others. That's why they took him out. That's why they made things difficult for him. Oh yeah, I could tell he was a he had reptilian DNA. Oh, I definitely could tell. He was powerful. Spiritually, physically, and in every other way. He was a very intelligent, highly intelligent man. God knows why he wanted to hang around me, child. Lord knows why would he want to breathe my airspace? You know what I mean? Because when I looked at him, he was like the king, the prince and the king. But they shut doors. They locked, when I say doors, I mean they shut off avenues of opportunity for him because Christopher spoke from the heart. He was one of those reptilians that I was talking about. He spoke from the heart. And he was trying to make changes within his own consciousness. Hell, I may even have a little bit of reptilian DNA, but I doubt it. I don't think that that's my I don't believe that that's part of my structure. I don't. Then again, it could be. I don't know. We all can have some of those genetics, but it doesn't mean you have to turn into a wicked, disgusting, deceptive person that's driven by control and manipulation. And see, that's what has happened. It ain't got nothing to do with the genetics, but they try to use the genetics as a scare tactic and as shock value to keep people in fear of the reptilians, just like they did on that show, The Twilight Zone. The monsters are on Maple Street. They kept all of the humans at each other while they have all of the information. They have all of the documentation about what's really going on. That is why when you hear them say bloodline, the key word bloodlines, when they're saying bloodlines, they're talking about our genetics and our DNA, not necessarily theirs all the time. But when they say bloodlines, that's the key word. They're not talking about people morphing into amphibious beings. See, they know that the public, because the public has been trained over the past 60 some years to believe that that's what aliens are, and they know that the public is fearful of anything that's not within the norm of things. They know that. So that's why they use those tactics. But when you hear them talking about by bloodline and all of that, they're always talking about reptilian genetics. That's all they're talking about is genetics. They're not talking about people morphing into monsters. If you want to see that, go look at The Howling from the 1980s. Go look at that. And even that has symbology in it that I could break down, but I don't feel like doing it right now. Because in actuality, the Howling movies is about the woman's menstrual cycle and the power within the woman's womb during the moon cycles. That's really what the Howling, about the werewolves, that's really what that's about. That's connected to the sacred womb and the moon cycles and the power that the woman is under and in, especially the Black woman, during those times and how she can use moon magic to do the things that she wants to do. Because we all know that the moon is connected to, I can't even talk about it because it's so complex, because the woman's body is so complex and magical. But we all know that the moon cycles are connected to fertility and to the woman's womb and the sacred power of the woman. That's what they were really talking about in the Howling movies. Because during those times when there's a full moon, women can even have superhuman strength at some points. And I may be exaggerating a little bit, but I'm just giving you an idea of the power. They're talking about the spiritual power, not necessarily, let me take that back, not necessarily, Hollywood orchestrated, illusionary power, but spiritual power, the spiritual power that the woman holds during those cycles in the moon. That's why during a full moon, werewolves they would always say that that's when they would transform. But they're talking about the spiritual power of the woman and how ferocious and powerful it can be. That's what they're really talking about. So when you hear them talking about bloodlines and reptilians, they're only talking about their genetics and their DNA. They're not talking about them being actual reptilians. They're just saying they're of a different genetic bloodline than a lot of us. That's all they're saying. They're no better. They're not more powerful. And they're already here. And they've been here. If people keep talking about aliens came here thousands of years ago, what the fuck makes you think that they're not already here anyway? You think they just came and left? No, they're still here. They're still here. They never left. And this planet was colonized from other planets in the universe and galaxy. They don't tell you that either. That's up in the Vatican too, allegedly. Anyway, stop playing in our face. Stop playing in our faces about this alien disclosure shit. Let's stop. Y'all know what's up. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Take your vitamin B12. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.